The Typhonian tradition is sometimes defined as a current that flows through the cosmology of the Ordre Templi Orientis, O.T.O. Typhon was the god in Greek mythology who, when appearing before the other gods, was so ugly he changed into a fire-eating monster. He waged a terrible war and was eventually killed by one of Zeus' thunderbolts. Thus, Typhonian is synonymous with fire and force, also means the opposer. Typhon's Egyptian counterpart is Set or Seth. Typhonian tradition, as currently acknowledged, means returning to a matriarchal system of goddess worship, not restoring the Egyptian pantheon, per se, but the system of worship. This corresponds to the god Set as well as Typhon, gods of opposition or adversary. The Typhonian tradition clearly eradicates the status quo and is staunchly resisted by those resisting change. Such resistance is clearly seen from Judeo-Christian history, patriarchy replacing matriarchy. One disastrous result has been feminine derogation. This has led to woman being thought of as sexual, sensual, lewd, and whatever. The Hebrews segregated women at menstruation, as being impure. Jewish women were required to repent by making sacrifices after childbirth. In Christianity, this was followed by the witch and heretic manias. Many women died because men believed that they believed the wrong things. It seems certain such vile acts were committed because of masculine fear of women. Sources of such fear seem uncertain, but the principal one is probably ignorance. Some venture the reason for male sense of superiority is that Christ was a male himself. This sexist discrimination still continues. Many still oppose the feminist movement and achievement. An opposing step against such male dominance was the advent of the new eon presented by Aleister Crowley in the Book of the Law that seeks to re-establish feminine and masculine worship in balance similar to ancient Egyptian custom. The step was a twofold Typhonian one. First, it represented Crowley's attempt to defeat Christianity, which demoralized him throughout his life. His mother called him the beast as a child, and then he was called the wickedest man in the world. Secondly, the law was Thelemic law, Greek thy will, which stated that man was to live in pleasure, not suffering, which would frighten men. Men's fright would occur, because it would shatter their conformity of living in pain suffering. They must adjust to this. This adjustment would make a change in man. It would free man from thinking it was appropriate for him to live in pain and suffering. He would no longer feel guilty when attempting to escape it. He would thus know it was the law and his duty to escape it and exist in pleasure. The law of Thelema was now focused on his will. The mind was thus free to conduct other pursuits. The law of Thelema was the way of the Typhonians. It was the path of Set, the opposer, who was in constant combat against Horus and the stationary Assyrian Trinity, just as those of the New Eon are in constant combat against the confining establishments of the past Eon. It is no wonder even those not officially recognizing this new eon, such as Leonardo da Vinci and Sir Isaac Newton, were occultists, and that J.G. Fraser, author of The Golden Bough, describes science as successful magic, were among those who produced social change. Once the mind is free of guilt, consciousness can rapidly grow. An increasing consciousness is like a continuum that continues to grow, a thing in which anything seems possible. Its reality has no limits, and is the tool and path of the magical. This is why it is such a valuable tool for the magician, enormously expanding his consciousness and yielding limitless possibilities. The only test is of their future utility. Will they produce the desired magical results, not their morality? Within this Typhonian tradition, or current, lays the vast stream of magical possibilities stretching from ancient Egypt to the present at the magician's disposal. A.G.H.